Welcome to the program. The Ghana Armed Forces has commenced training for the first batch of newly selected recruits with 2,000 personnel cleared to begin the process. The recruits forming the first of 4 batches are expected to report to their respective selection centers across all 16 regions on Wednesday, the 18th of March, to receive their appointment letters and prospectuses. The military says applicants who were deferred at the medical stage due to treatable conditions should seek care, as they will be reconsidered at no cost during subsequent reviews. The first batch also includes 18 individuals injured during last year's LWAC Sports Stadium stampede, as well as 5 others sponsored by families of victims of the incident. It adds that a directive to prioritize individuals from Sikaman in the Ashanti region who assisted during last year's helicopter crash rescue operation is being considered for the second batch. And let's go on to our touch screen and bring you excerpts of that particular statement they released to that effect. And it says the Ghana Armed Forces is informing the public that it has completed the selection of 2,000 recruits, being the first in the series of 4 batches. The selected personnel who have been invited are to report at their various selection centers across all regions of the country for the appointment letters and prospectuses on Wednesday, the 18th of March 2026. And all potential applicants who had curable medical issues at the medical stage are encouraged to seek medical attention, as they will be invited again for a review at a later date at no cost. It continues to say that selected potential recruits for the first batch include 18 individuals who got injured during the LWAC Sports Stadium stampede last year, and 5 others were sponsored by the families of the deceased during the LWAC stampede. The statement further says that the Armed Forces is expressing gratitude to all the 16 regional administrations for their immense support that enabled this year's exercise to be organized at the regional level in line with government's directive of sending recruitment to the doorstep of potential applicants. And the Ghana Armed Forces is assuring all remaining applicants to remain calm, as it says it is continuing the selection for the remaining batches. It continues to say that it is pleased to indicate that it has a pool of young applicants who scored high marks during the aptitude test and will therefore make selection from the pool for subsequent recruitment exercises beyond this year. And finally, the directive on facilitating recruitment for persons from Sikaman in the Ashanti region who assisted the military during last year's helicopter crash rescue operation is under consideration for the second batch of training. And that is the press statement that has been released by the Ghana Armed Forces to that effect. Meanwhile, President Mahama's plan to double security service recruitment is drawing strong opposition from minority MPs who argue it is a band-aid solution. The Interior Minister, Muntaka Mubarak, last week revealed about 500,000 applicants had applied to join the security agencies under his ministry, competing for just 5,000 available slots. At a high-level security meeting on Monday, President Mahama directed that the number of recruits be increased from 20 to 40,000 over a 4-year period. But minority MPs want more than just numbers. They want systemic reforms and investment in resources, not just personnel. Alexander Afenyomarkin is the minority leader.
The recruitment exercise, we've seen a statement issued by the Minister for Government Communication talking about an increase in the number from 5,000 to 10,000 every year. Mr. Speaker, that does not address the core concerns. Mr. Speaker, we want you, the Chief Whip, you gave your word last week that our respected colleague, the Minister of Interior, will come and brief this out. Mr. Speaker, we don't want this to be treated the way they treated the cocoa haircut, where the finance minister announced a haircut at his ministry. The people's representatives must be properly briefed, especially when this recruitment has to do with our own constituents.
So this afternoon, we're asking, can government shoulder the cost? JoyNews research has been looking at the data, and my colleague Isaac Ofieje is the head of research here at JoyNews and is joining me in studio with more. Isaac, first of all, let's look at the Ghanaian numbers. How does it compare to international standards when it comes to our security agencies?
Well, so there are benchmarks, especially for the police service, for instance. The UN accepted benchmark is one policeman to about 426 citizens. But we are doing currently one policeman to about 726, right? Over 700 citizens. And if you look at that of the fire service, it's actually worse if you compare it to that of the police. Fire service around one fire person to about 1,200 residents. And if you look at it on the tangent of military,
right,
we are doing about one military man to about, or military personnel to about 1,700 residents. So if you are looking at the numbers, it's a bit better on the police aspect, but if you look at it on the tangent of fire, prisons, and even the army, it's not looking good at all.
Let's look at this. This is the big number, 23.4 billion Ghana cedis. What is it?
Well, so we are looking at the constraints, right? So the reason why it's important is that you need, budgetary allocation or financial clearance before you can do some of this recruitment. That's why the president came in under an executive, order that you need to add 20,000 people more, right? The initial plan was to do 20,000 for the security services, right? So i.e. prison service, fire service, police service, 20,000. But with this new directive, it simply means that we're going to add some 20,000 people more in the course of, I think, about 4 years, right? So government is doing this recruitment in a 4-year period. By 2020, this should be done. So that will mean that the average of 5,000 that we were expecting will now increase to about 10,000 per each of the years, so 10,000 to 2028. And if you look at the army, which is different from the security service, because anyway, it's not a service, it's a force, right? The plan is to recruit 12,000 into the army over a period of, I think, 3 years. The first batch is what you actually gave an update on that.
Right.
After their recruitment process, those who have been selected have started, training, and then they have to report. And for that as well also demands some sort of, budgetary allocation. But we are looking at interior, which houses all the services, and, defense, which is the forces. Combined, 2026, this year, the estimation is that we want to spend about 23.4 billion Ghana cedis. That's roughly about $2.2 billion on both defense and interior. That is our budget. Well, 2.2 billion is huge, but I tell you, about 90% of that budget goes into salaries, payment of salaries and wages. So compensation of employees about 90%, which leaves a little above 10%, or sometimes even just about 9% for other expenditures, which include logistics, capital expenditure, goods and services, and what have you. So although we are increasing the numbers, the big concern has always been about logistics and all of that. You can actually see the trend in terms of this is actually how much we've been allocating to defense, right, for the past 3 years. So 2024, we're around 3.9 billion in terms of total budgetary allocation to defense, increased by more than close to about 100%, to about 6.4 in 2025. And in 2026, we are seeing about 70% increase in defense budget. Many have said, well, the government anticipates that possibly we are going to go on that tangent, but this is defense anyway. That aspect, 12,000 will be recruited, but a significant part of this 10.8 billion will go into the retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces. Remember, after the crash, we saw this budget coming through. And what we are learning from the budget is that about 300 million cedis will be used for the retooling of the Ghana Armed Forces. If we go back and you look at that of, interior, for instance, you could see that interiors, expenditure has also gone up by some interior ministry, which is about, let's go to the black slide, which interior ministry is now, I think, somewhere around 12 billion cedis. And that has also seen about 17% increase in budgetary allocation. On that aspect as well, we understand per the data we are getting out of this 12.6 billion, we are seeing about 150 million Ghana cedis of that will be used to retool the Ghana, fire service, buy new fire tenders and all of that. About 150 million Ghana cedis has been allocated for that. So that goes into capital expenditure. But if you are adding, extra to the numbers we are seeing so far, we've had people who are doing the estimation that government needs an additional 2 billion cedis to be able to do this additional 20,000 that the president has actually directed. And the big question is, did we actually make room for this? But the interesting thing is that in just about 2 to 3 months, we're going to have the finance minister go to parliament to read the media budget, and we'll see how these numbers will be changed, especially the interior budget, for instance, which we've seen that about 2 billion has been added already, which is catering for the 20,000, right? This year alone, we are seeing about some 5,000 people who come into the interior ministry or the interior circle. But to say that we're going to go 20,000 extra, how much are we going to budget for? Because the biggest component of this 12.6 billion you see is compensation of employees. And at the interior ministry, it's even worse because the allowances and all the things you have to pay to bring in more people is also another additional cost and also a constraint. So, well, the numbers will be going up, but in terms of capital expenditure, we can also confirm that government has earmarked 150 million Ghana cedis to retool the Ghana fire service. We simply don't know how the retooling of prisons will be. We've not seen any data. We've not seen also additional data on police anyway, but what we can confirm is what was said in the budget. 150 million Ghana cedis for fire service and about 300 million Ghana cedis for the armed forces.
Right. I reckon that the number is going to go up exponentially because as we already are aware, we're going to see double the recruitment for all the security agencies. Right. Isaac Ofieje, thank you very much. He's the head of research here at JoyNews. Let's now bring in Dominic Nitiwu. He's the former defense minister of Ghana. Mr. Nitiwu, welcome to the program. You've been listening to our conversation. First of all, I want to pick your thought on the directive by President John Mahama to essentially double the recruitment in the period of 4 years. We were supposed to have had 20,000 recruitment into the security agencies, but now the president says it should be 40,000.
In principle, we agree with what the president has done to double the numbers. For every other person who gets a job as a young person, we are all for it. We think that the numbers could have been bigger. We also think that the president and the government should have done this earlier if there was an opportunity, because if today they could recruit 20,000, why did they decide to recruit 10,000 at the beginning and use IMF as the excuse? So it always seems to me that what is happening is an afterthought. But all the same, we welcome it. We think that it's something that the youth, which will benefit the youth, and we are all for it. And if there is an opportunity to even add the numbers, I will urge the president to add the numbers and the government to add the numbers to it. But it goes with responsibility. One, there is already a budget for the Minister of Interior to recruit a certain number. That is factored in the monument, the pay and allowances that he has for the year, which has to be reviewed by the Minister for Finance, which is also goes to tell us the resources they've given him for what we call goods and services, which will buy all the uniform and buy all the accoutrements that go with it. And then they've also given some resources to be able to build accommodation, particularly for some of the people. Otherwise, the government will pay them 20% in lieu of whatever private accommodation that will be arranged for them. So for us, if these financial resources and plans can be assured by the president and the Minister for Finance, I don't think that anybody in Ghana should go against it. But it's just that we will not accept the situation where these young people are just called in, handpicked, and then need to suffer along the way because the government did not prepare themselves, because this is an afterthought. And sometimes in implementing things that are an afterthought, it can be a very, very big problem for all of us. But in principle, the increase in numbers are good for Ghana, and we should all welcome it.
But there are those who say that the structures are not there, the structures to accommodate these huge numbers that the president is proposing are not there enough.
That's why I'm saying that if the government has plans in place, if the government had put these plans in place from day one, then they would have made sure that all the things in terms of structures, in terms of accommodation, in terms of enumeration, in terms of allowances and pay, everything should have been in place.
Right.
But as I said, it's clear to all of us that the government is doing it. All this came as an afterthought, and if it's an afterthought, implementing it can be very dangerous and can be very chaotic, and that's what we don't want to see. Because the least group of people you want to be in a chaotic manner are the security agencies. I just hope that the minister and his people can do it in such a way that they don't create problems for all of us, because they have to then double their expenditure on uniform, expenditure on boots, expenditure on everything. And I think that that's where the challenge will be. But if the government will release timeously the resources for them to do all this, I think that is good for the nation. But I'm saying that to the torture that they pass through these young people, knowing that they are taking only 5,000 and they have actually budgeted, they have actually allowed 500,000 people to apply, it's not good. Again, 104,000 young people have been given the clearance to go for medicals. When I was minister, the moment you allow somebody to go to medicals, you are essentially telling the person that you are going to pick him. So 104,000 people are ready to go for medicals. Some of them may not pass the medicals, but generally over 80% will pass medicals. We're talking of about 80,000 young people who will pass medicals. How do we turn around now to tell these young people, after paying 1,600 cedis, as I'm hearing, that is the figure they will pay, which I object to, obviously. I object with all the might in me, with all the blood in me, because just last year, 2024, they paid 500. So what warrants them to be paying 1,600 now? I don't think that is fair. I think that is a rip-off. It's not good for us.
Right.
But whatever the case, if you allow 80,000 people to pass medicals and you are only picking 5,000 people, it's chaos. It's big insult. It's not good for us. And we are really creating problems for ourselves as a nation. And I don't think that is good enough for all of us. So the government really needs to tidy up what they are doing. That's, I think, they need to do. They really need to tidy up. So it's not just the numbers they are picking. I mean, if you add 5,000 to the original 5,000 we have, it's a drop in the ocean. Remember that the retirement within the police and all the other security services combined in a year is more than 2,000.
Right.
So you are really not, there's enough space to add more if they want to, because you are asking them to recruit new ones. And then those who have retired, if you want to add those who have retired, this number could have moved from the current 10,000 they are talking about to about 15,000. So generally, my view is that the government should recruit this year close to 15,000 people and allow the ordinary youth who apply to go through. Then next year, they can increase the numbers, because Ghana police should be nothing less than 60,000 at this time. And so there's enough room for them to recruit. But when they do, they should also give the Minister for the Interior resources to do capital projects, what we call capital expenditure, so that he can build housing for them, barracks for them, he can give the accommodation. If you post a policeman to a community in, say, Bunkrugu or Bimbala or somewhere, and he doesn't have a place to stay, sometimes it's very demoralizing. When he does not have weapons, sometimes it's very demoralizing. Even if you cannot just give him an AK-47 or some weapon, some assault rifle, at least make sure that there's enough to protect the police unit, so that when they go on patrol highway to chase armed robbers or to protect ourselves, they can at least even protect themselves. The worst is to send people out there to go and stand on the road alone in the middle of the night, and they do not even have any force to protect them. At least, if you have every 3 police people who stand on that road, at least 1 or 2 of them should have assault rifles to protect them from these armed robbers. And then also protection, what we call jackets. You know, the jackets that they use, that bulletproof jackets. You cannot ask police people to move onto the scene when they don't have bulletproof jackets. And then the means of transport, either it's a car or a motorbike. So there are logistical constraints when you are taking this decision. That's why from day one, whatever process the government wanted to go through should have been thought through properly. And this happens that under pressure decisions that the government is taking is clearly not right. I think that they are just taking the decisions out of the pressure by the young people. That's why I'm asking that if the government knew from the one that they could recruit 10,000 people into the other security agencies for this year, why did they decide to recruit only 5,000 from the one? Why did they do that? Why did they give the minister clearance for only 5,000 if they knew that there was an opportunity to recruit an extra 5,000? Why did they do that? I think that they have not been honest with the young people of Ghana, and I don't think that it's good enough.
Let's talk about the budget for defense and interior. We're talking about 23 billion Ghana cedis. And if you look at the defense budget, you were at the defense ministry once upon a time. If you look at the budget from 2024, for instance, it was somewhere around 3 billion. Now it's somewhere around 10 billion Ghana cedis. It's gone up by more than 100%. What do you make of it? And the most astonishing thing is that we understand that about 90% of that budget goes for compensation.
So first of all, it's good and it's bad. When I say it's good and it's bad, it's good that at least the Minister for Defense has a budget that has gone up 100%. So on the surface of it, everybody will say that it's good. But what is it used for? In the defense sector, 90% is not used for the allowances and pay as you in other sectors that is there. They have not given them enough resources for their goods and service. That's what really runs the armed forces. Goods and service is what runs the armed forces. So go and look at the budget line for goods and service. It has not increased by the 100% as the entire budget has increased. And the capital expenditure has not also increased by the 100% that it has increased. The real thing for the defense and in particular is the purchase of the presidential jet and the 4 heli. That's what has shot up the budget for last year and this year. That's essentially what has shot up the budget from our time to now. And I advise the government to buy a strategic airlift, not a presidential jet. What they have just done is to buy a newer version of the current jet that we have. That takes about 16 people maximum. In fact, about some 11 to 12 passengers, and then the crew members are about 4 or 5 people. So basically, that's what they have done. They are just buying a newer version of what we have to lift the president and nobody else. Nobody else can use that aircraft. What we were saying and we insisted we should get is a strategic lift that can do the work to lift the president as well as other people. Like I said before somewhere, these Gulf countries that we are having issues of war with the U.S. and Israel and Iran, we could have sent that aircraft to go and repatriate our people, not repatriate, to go and evacuate our people and bring them. So there's a big difference between what we're going to do and what they have done. What they have done is to buy an aircraft exclusively for the president. We wanted to buy an aircraft that other Ghanaians could use. That's the difference between them. And the big expenditure, that's why I use the word as bad, the big expenditure is basically on that. The Air Force has always asked for a strategic airlift, not just a presidential jet. An airlift that can serve as a jet for president and also for the general use of the public. Whether it's footballers you are referring to there, whether it's soldiers you are taking to Lebanon or to Congo or to the Sudan or to Guinea or to Guinea-Bissau where we have our troops and they are serving, or whether you are bringing them home, or whether it's forced evacuation as we have today, that you are going to bring them. So I'm clear in my mind that if the government had listened to some of us, they would not have gone in for the smaller presidential jet, but would have gone in for a jet or for an aircraft that can carry about 50, 60 to even 100 people. That's one. So on the surface of it, every budgetary increase is good on the surface of it for the two agencies. Because look, the first responsibility of every government is to keep your citizens safe. That's the first responsibility of every government. So if you have a government, the first responsibility is to make sure that your citizens are safe. Any other thing can be added. When you have your life, my brother and my fellow listeners, if you have your life, you can get good rules in future. You can get accommodation in future. That's housing. You can get good health in future. You can get you can go to school in future. You can get water in future. But if you don't have your life and your life is in danger, all other worldly things are vanity. So the first principle is to keep what God has given you, life, and then every other thing will follow. That's why security is so important. So every dollar or every cedi increase that the government has given is good. All right. But then it should not be misplaced priority, as we are trying to see what they are trying to do. Essentially for defense, they're just buying an aircraft for the president and helicopters for the president to leave them wherever they want to live. That's okay. But I say that they could have done much better. So for the soldiers, they should have bought not just the transport helis, but also a gunship, something that can protect us, so that tomorrow if we are attacked, the soldiers can use it to defend us.
Right.
And then that's what we are trying to do. That's why we try to buy the new generation LNG fighter jets, 6 of them. I hope the government will pursue. We couldn't bring it, unfortunately. I hope the government will pursue to bring these fighter jets so that at least they could, whenever, God forbid, we were to be in trouble, our people can defend us in the air. We now see the good of having a good air force. We are seeing it in the current war in Iran, that if you have a good air force, it helps you. And so for Ghana needs to have a good air force.
Dominic, do I get the impression that you feel that the current budget allocation, especially to the defense sector, is not enough? Because looking at all the equipment that you are mentioning, if Ghana were to consider that in the 2026 budget, the budget would have ballooned. Do I get the impression that you feel it's not enough?
I've always said that if we stop politicizing the needs of the Ghana Armed Forces, and especially the other security services, it will be in our interest as a nation. Because look, where I sat, I had the privilege of seeing what all other countries were doing around us. I saw what the Nigerians were doing. I saw what the Ivorians were doing. I saw what the Togolese were doing. Every country around us that was part of ECOWAS, anything they bought, it will pass through my table. So I saw it. And I can say that we need to do a lot more than we are doing. In fact, we need to tighten our belt very quickly, if there is a word like that. We need to do far in excess of what we are doing. So when you ask me whether I think that the Ministry of Defense and Interior need budget, it would be an understatement if I were to just use the word yes. I would say that they need it like yesterday. Some would say they needed it like just yesterday. We really need to beef up our security architecture, and we need to give them resources. In some countries, you go to Burkina, 25% of their budget is given to the security agencies. There's a reason why they're doing that.
Right.
Because they behave like us, and suddenly when they were hit with the terrorism, they now realize that they were very weak, and now they're spending to catch up. The moment you allow terrorist activities to enter your country, you are still in advance. And so prevention is the most important thing. I'll give an example. We were trying to build forward operating bases to move our soldiers from the barracks that they have, 6BN and then the Bazwa and the Y1, to especially the towns, so that we have the soldiers defending our borders, so that they do not have to move 2-3 hours to go when there is a strike. Up to now, the government has not continued to that project. We also decided that, look, we're building a forward operating base at Nzelibu in the western region. We invested so much. We hadn't finished. We did almost 90% of the work, and accommodation was virtually finished. So we commissioned that one. But there were so many other things. The harbor that we're building that will accommodate a lot of the Navy ships. It will have been the biggest naval base across the entire West Africa region. This government is not doing it. It's in our interest to make sure that these projects are finished.
Right.
Because there were good reasons why we decided to build a big naval base in the western region. We all know most of our maritime resources are within the western region. So if you have a big naval base at the western region, it's in your interest. We also know that the biggest security threat, external security threat, is facing us from the north. And so we decided to build 12 forward operating bases along the border to move our soldiers. And each base was expected to at least absorb about, or maybe accommodate close to a company size. So that would have gone with armored vehicles. And we bought close to 100 armored vehicles in hope that this project will be finished. We bought a telephone mask. The telephone mask, and all of them are lying at the Ministry of Defense, as we see today, or the telephone mask that will receive all the accommodation, so that these soldiers can see 15 miles around them. So if there is any danger coming 15 miles around them, they could see. Some of them could see about 30, 40 miles. Some could see close to 100 miles.
Right.
All we wanted to do was to envelope the entire north, so that if an FOB is sitting in Tumu, for example, which there's one, they can link with the one in Jirapa and can see what is happening. So
right.
they could see they could see live what was happening. If somebody is entering, a terrorist is coming, then they can defend us. All I say is that all we have is Ghana. If we do not beef up our security, we are going to be in trouble. So I say that government should release resources for them to finish one, the 12 FOBs and the one in Zelebo, and equip the armed forces enough to be able to defend us. The same thing with the police and the same thing with the immigration and fire service and prisons. The government should do that immediately. If the government does not do that, trust me, tomorrow we'll regret it.
Right.
I've always said it, that we'll end up regretting our inaction and it will be too late for us.
Right. Dominic, at least the war in the Middle East has shown us that modern warfare now goes beyond ground troops. You need to be able to secure your skies, as you mentioned, secure your sea. But when it comes to Ghana, it appears that most of the concentration is on ground troops. When it comes to our Air Force and our Navy, do you think they need real equipping?
That's why I said that I do not want to be crying over spilled milk. I've already said it everywhere that we shouldn't politicize the recruitment, the equipping of the armed forces of Ghana. The armed forces, in this case, we have three services: Army, Air Force, Navy. I remember, for example, we're buying 2 offshore patrol vessels. And if we had acquired these offshore patrol vessels, we had passed through every stage, and all that we needed was a vote in Parliament, and Atu stopped it.
Right.
The current finance minister stopped it and said he has won election, they will not allow it. After that, they will buy it themselves. 2 years into the reign, we are not buying anything. One was supposed to be stationed in the western region and the other in the eastern region. There is nothing that will enter our water without this forward operating bases not intercepting it, nothing. So you see, for example, now, Paris were brave enough to come to our shore, literally 45 kilometers into our shore and adapt people and go fishermen. If they knew that Ghana had forward operating bases, it is not possible. There's another thing brewing around Ghana-Togo border, which I cannot say on air. But if you ask any security person, the biggest danger we have today is our borderline between Ghana and Togo. And things are happening there quietly on the sea that the Navy cannot brief us. But it's dangerous for Ghana because if your neighbor knows that you are weak, they will chase you away. Even if, look, a small boy knows that this person is toothless. He will beat a bigger person and people will be very surprised. And that's what is happening to us.
Right.
That smaller countries will not fear you when they think that you are not well equipped. All I'm saying is that we must equip our Navy immediately and give them what they are looking for.
Right.
What they've asked for is for the offshore patrol vessels, nothing more, nothing less.
Right.
And for the Air Force needs good drones, both offensive and defensive.
Right.
They also need the ability to move our troops around. That's basically, in many countries, the army itself has their own heli, but in our case, we use the Air Force to be able to move our troops around. Let them be able to move our troops around and also have the offensive capability so that when anybody touches Ghana, they know that, yes, Ghana can do that. All I'm saying is that the increases should be more than what we are currently seeing. When we say we increase drastically, we'll pump in a lot of resources into the Ghana Armed Forces, more than any government before us. That I can say for a fact.
You did mention,
and if they can do more,
Dominic, if I can come in at this point, you did mention that we need about 50,000 police officers in the country.
As we say today, we need close to 60,000 police officers.
Exactly. I want you to give me a figure on our military as well. How many military personnel do you think we need? Just a figure.
First of all, I will not give what we have. Okay.
Right.
But our current doctrine is that you need not less than 35,000 Ghana Armed Forces personnel.
Right.
But I remember President Akufo-Addo told me that his doctrine was to ensure that we have 50,000 men and women in the Ghana Armed Forces. And we're working to that over the next 10 years.
Right. Okay.
Over the next 10 years, our hope was that by 2034, 35, we should have not less than 10,000 men and women in uniform within the Ghana Armed Forces.
Right. Dominic, need to
but the
thank
current
you.
figure the current figure I will not be able to say for security reasons. But
That's fine.
I say that our plan was to have that. And what is it that we did? We did not just sit down and say that, oh, we need 10,000. We didn't do that. We opened up units completely. Right. So we opened up units in Yendi, in Bimbla. We opened up units in all the capitals, the new capitals. So we opened up units all across. Right. If you go to the Ghana Armed Forces today, you will see that we open up units all over. And just hoping that as we recruit these young men and women, we'll build barracks all over them. We'll do accommodation for them, we'll buy equipment for them, and then we'll start putting them. So we have done all the groundwork. We have done all the units opening. We have done what we need to do. We have put in place what is supposed to be done. But it's the ability now to recruit and also to give them what they need to be able to do the work is what this new government needs to do. That's basically what they need to do. Right. And when it comes to the ideas of thinking of where to place which units, where to put which barracks, what to do, whether it's Air Force that should be at Kintampo as we are going to have, or whether it's Army or Airborne that should be in Yendi, or where we have done all that.
Right, thank you. Right. Dominic Nitu, thank you very much. He's a former defense minister. Now, the minority in parliament has raised concern over Ghana's unemployment situation, warning that failure to align with global trends in artificial intelligence, digital skills and automation could worsen the crisis, with the current rate described as a national security threat. They argue that as economies transition to tech-driven and innovation-led jobs, Ghana risks being left behind without deliberate investment in training, reskilling, and education reform. We'll hear from them shortly, but first listen to the president of Imani Africa, Franklin Kujo, who says the unemployment challenge reflects deeper structural weaknesses in the economy and policy direction. He spoke on JoyNews' PM Express with Evans Mensah.
When the NDC was campaigning and suggested that, oh, well, look, we are going to create jobs, 24-hour economy. I must tell you that I don't think they had critically done the math, should I call it the assessment, because they also reduced it to the slogan, right? 3 jobs, 3 people, 3 shifts, or whatever I call it, 1 job, 3 shifts, and all of that. That was what people understood. It was only when, after a while, when they said, look, let's think properly about this matter. That was when the likes of Guzi and Co came and said, hey, if you're going to do 24-hour economy, you need to think about value chains. You must have a proper plan in which people can invest in, right? Instead of maybe, let's say about 100,000 people that I think use this waterway, I think we've managed to create value to the extent that now about 1 million people can actually be making business up and down. You know, and I think it's an elaborate way of doing it. Assuming we did that, and we did it with some other, another value chain somewhere, maybe, I've forgotten what name I want to bring, but maybe just along the coastal area as well. Maybe look at fishing or something else. You know, then we are thinking in those terms. We don't think in silos where politicians come and dish out small things here and there. No.
Franklin Kujo there. He is the president of Imani Africa. We've also been hearing from the ranking member in Parliament's Trade, Industry and Tourism Committee, Michael Ochubefi, who says the government's proposed policies do not adequately address the unemployment challenge.
Must be aggressively, and radically move to do these things, whether we like it or not. Because that's the only way we can achieve something better for our country, Ghana. And that's why I said that earlier on, that I have so much hope in the 24-hour economy. But it only changed when they decide to advertise something different from what they are implementing. Clearly, the 24-hour economy they're talking about, which should have been a game changer for us, because governments have not done well. For the first time, this is the first time in the history of this country that, this republic, that a concept or like an authority has brought its policy to Parliament, for Parliament to go to peruse and also at least put on the floor of Parliament or plenary for us to discuss. My point is that if we have not done well over the period, and now there's an opportunity to do well, what do? We have to make sure that we do the right thing. and we start to do politics as usual, and that cannot help us as a country. So I wholeheartedly support the numbers. I mean, a country where unemployment is at 12.8. I mean, very, very, very disgraceful. I mean, a country like Ghana, Nkrumah's Ghana, that is a big boy amongst our peers. We should not be. We are always the best in class in all the things we do, but the numbers are not showing well.
But this has firmly been rejected by government. Ataisa is a member of parliament for Sanerigu and also a member of parliament's Trade and Tourism Committee. Listen to him.
Since the Secretariat started its work in March 2025, they engaged 412 private sector companies, 412. And out of the 412, 80% of the 412 has agreed to do the 3-shift program. However, subjecting it to some various incentives that government must provide for them. Mm-hmm. And one of the incentives that the people are asking for, which is part of the 24-hour mandate, one, we are trying to look at, first of all, the financing mechanism. We've realized that a lot of SMEs are not able to expand businesses because of financial constraints or limited access to the loanable fund market. So government is providing, first of all, one, through GIF. We are making funds available through a concessionary terms. Carbon credit from zero net. If you look at currently, he is aware, MPs were trying to pass the MPs pension program. And one of the funding sources was to use our carbon credit market. Government is saying that companies that are most environmentally sustainable should be able to access carbon credit through the government. And we are doing this within several frameworks. He talked about the voter, Franklin talked about the voter economic corridor. We have the northern corridor, and we have the middle basin. And we are also saying that you cannot develop the industrial base that will create more jobs for people without modernizing your agriculture.
Let's now take you to Tema, because teachers at the school where the microlight aircraft crashed yesterday are seeking psychological support as the incident keeps replaying in their minds. Despite no child or staff injured, they say the experience was traumatic. Earlier, a team was on the ground to collect the debris of the helicopter to aid the investigation. Hannah Odame just returned from the crash site. She's joining me in the studio with more. Hannah, what was the mood at the daycare when you got to the place earlier today?
Yeah, so Kenneth, the place was cordoned off, and so everybody, lots of people had come by just to view what had happened. You know, yesterday, the scenes we saw, lots of people were all around, even at the crash site. But today, the place had been cordoned off, and so they were outside the gates. There were lots of them. There was a solemn mood. I mean, people were still in shock. You can still see the surprise on the faces of people. And a lot of people were trying to give the versions of whatever they saw. Everybody was trying to explain. Now, that was outside. When you get inside, where the crash scene, it's a school, as we all know. It's the Tema Metropolitan Assembly Daycare. And so there are two buildings in there. There's one on the extreme right and one on the extreme left. The aircraft fell in the middle of these two buildings.
Right.
So fortunately, as we all know, nobody was affected. None of the children or the staff were affected. And when we got there, there was a truck from the Ghana Air Force collecting the debris. So we're fortunate enough to see the debris being collected. You could see parts of the aircraft, they were all being collected. And we saw a team from the security, from the police, from the Ghana National Fire Service, from NADMO. We even saw some personnel from FDA there, a lot of people. And the police and military were there to ensure there was order. They collected all of these debris and they took them away. When they took them away, the place was opened for people to just come. More like a tourist site now, even though it was a sad scene yesterday.
Right.
Lots of people were just coming. Everybody was trying to just take a glimpse of what happened there. And fortunately, we were able to meet one of those who were at the site. He is a commissioner of investigation. He was there and he spoke to us. He says that investigations are ongoing. All the debris has been taken to the Air Force and they are going to investigate. We asked him whether the identities of those who died, unfortunately died yesterday, could be revealed. And he said the right protocol will have to be adhered to. And so until that is done, they will not get that. But let's hear from him. Let's watch him. He spoke to us.
So we've collected the wreckage. We are sending them to the Ghana Air Force. They have a hangar. That is where we are sending them to for protection and for our investigations. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.
Right, Hannah, that's the man you spoke about.
Yeah, he is the Acting Commissioner of Aircraft Incident Investigation and Prevention, John Wombeto.
Right, when you got to the daycare, was it opened?
No, it wasn't opened. I mean, the way it was, you could see some of the debris even in two of the classrooms. As I said, there were two blocks. The other one was not touched at all, but there was one that was badly, I mean, it wasn't really destroyed. I heard you ask the gentleman yesterday. It wasn't destroyed at all, but you could see some of the debris in there. The children were not there, the teachers were not there. It was when we were leaving that I was able to speak to some of the teachers who will bring to you in subsequent bulletins, and they are saying they are traumatized, as you earlier said. The school cannot open now until investigations are done, number one, and then number two, until the Municipal Assembly Education Directorate gives them the go-ahead, because the entire place is an investigation site now. Right. But whilst we were leaving, we saw another team come in there to begin fumigating the place, because people died there. So the fumigation exercise had started. And parents and teachers who came around, everybody in a solemn mood. I met some parents who said the child woke up and just said, I won't come to school. That was yesterday. She did everything. The child said, I won't just come to school. And so she's just excited. She's not happy people are dead, just as we are all not happy. But she doesn't know if the child had come to school yesterday, has attended school yesterday, anything could have happened. And so the school, as you said, is not going to be open for now. And we don't know the alternate arrangements for now also until we speak to the directorates. They said they are going to communicate that to us later.
And without knowing any alternate arrangement, do we know at least when it's going to be reopened?
We have no idea. And school vacates on next month, the 2nd of April. So we don't know what they are going to do. It was supposed to be revision week and then examination week. But these are toddlers. It's from 3 months to about 6 months because it's a daycare. So they don't really write exam, but then their parents need help. That's why they took them there, because they have to go to work. And so we pray we get to the alternate arrangements soon. The teachers are ready to work.
Glad that they're all safe, and thank you very much for that comprehensive update. Hannah Odame there. You're still watching The Pulse here on JoyNews. We return from the break with more. Don't go anywhere. Hello again. President John Mahama has expressed worry over the ongoing Israel-US-Iran war, stressing that it is not only affecting the Middle East, but the whole world. Speaking as he hosted the National Chief Imam and the Muslim community to observe Iftar at the Jubilee House, he said it is his prayer that Allah will touch the hearts of everybody involved in the conflict and bring peace to the people in the region. Presidential Affairs correspondent Maxwell Agbagba has more.
The event brought together the Vice President, the National Chief Imam, diplomats, government officials, and Ghanaians from all walks of life. Delivering his remarks, President John Mahama emphasized that Ghana cannot achieve the society it envisions without leaders grounded in honesty, self-discipline, and a sincere dedication to serving the people. Drawing on the Quran, he noted that the discipline of fasting is not merely a religious exercise, but a reflection of the values required of those entrusted with public office.
Indeed, Christians and Muslims are the most closely related in terms of religion. Because if you take the Holy Bible, the Old Testament is the teaching of God, and the New Testament is the life of Jesus Christ. The same thing with the Quran. The Holy Quran is the word of God, and the Hadith is the life of the Prophet. And we are enjoined to follow the life of the prophets. And if you follow the life of the prophet, it teaches you how you should behave as a Muslim. If you follow the New Testament and the life of Jesus Christ, it teaches you how to behave as a Christian. And in all their lives, it was about love and compassion and forgiveness. And so if you say you're a true Muslim or you're a true Christian and you are hard of heart, you are unforgiving, you are wicked, you kill your fellow man, you can't call yourself a true Muslim or a true Christian. As we observe Ramadan, we're also reminded of the importance of renewal and moral responsibility in our national life. The discipline of fasting teaches us restraint, honesty, and accountability, values that must guide leadership and public service.
President Mahama added that it is his prayer that Allah will touch the hearts of all those involved in the Israel-US-Iran conflict and bring lasting peace to the people in the region.
At a time when many parts of the world are faced with conflict and uncertainty, we must continue to protect the peace and stability of Ghana.
Let's take you live to the office of the National Treasurer of the MPP, Charles Dramana, who is declaring his intent to contest for the General Secretary position.
The growth and strength of our party. Upon my return to Ghana, I had the honor of serving the party at the national headquarters as Director of Finance and Administration, where I worked with a team of highly dedicated people to secure the 2016 electoral victory for our party. And currently, as the National Treasurer, where together with my colleagues, we have restored financial discipline and improved upon transparency and accountability within the party. In addition, I was privileged to serve our nation as Deputy Ambassador to the People's Republic of China, where together with the team at the embassy, we represented Ghana with dedication and distinction. Throughout these years of service, one belief has remained firm in my heart, that the new patriotic party remains the most credible political tradition capable of delivering progress, opportunity, and freedom for all Ghanaians. However, fellow patriots, it is no secret that the love Ghanaians have for the party has waned, and that our party currently faces the challenges that require courage, unity, and disciplined leadership to overcome. These challenges demand that we rebuild our structures, strengthen our internal systems, and restore the values that once made our party the most formidable political organization in Ghana. It is for this reason that my campaign is guided by a simple yet profound message: let's rebuild to restore the love. To restore the love, a lot will depend on the new set of national officers the party will elect, particularly the General Secretary. At this stage in the party's forward march, the party requires a General Secretary who is politically mature and disciplined. A General Secretary who is firm and decisive. A General Secretary who understands corporate and political governance, and as such will create the enabling environment for all officers to work, whether they are elected or appointed. A general secretary who understands and believes in research, and as such will ensure that all major decisions are research-driven. A general secretary who will not be an armchair general secretary. And a general secretary who will prioritize the welfare needs of party members. Fellow patriots, I believe that God has endowed me with these qualities. When given the opportunity to serve as the next general secretary, I will bring to the table mature political leadership that is rooted in discipline. As national treasurer, I have been able to restore financial discipline in the party, and I will certainly be able to instill discipline across the rank and file of the party when given the opportunity. I also bring to the table firm and decisive leadership and will implement party decisions without fear or favor. I believe in teamwork, and so I will ensure that officers of the party at all levels, whether elected or appointed, are given the room to execute their respective mandates. There shall be no marginalization or sidelining of executive, whether elected or appointed, under my leadership as General Secretary. As a scientist, I understand and believe in science and data, and as such, I will ensure that all major decisions of the party are research-driven. I will prioritize the welfare needs of all party members by seeing to the implementation of the welfare schemes that are already on the table, including the Group Accident Insurance Scheme, Political Mentorship Program, Business Incubation Fund, Human Resource Empowerment Program, and the rest. These are robust welfare programs that should have been implemented to support party members, but for the artificial impediments put in the way of their implementation. As General Secretary, I will ensure that those artificial impediments are removed for full-scale implementation of these and many other welfare schemes. When given the honor to serve as General Secretary, I commit to working tirelessly to rebuild the party from the grassroots to the national level, ensuring that every polling station, electoral area, constituency, and regional structure functions effectively and efficiently. I will also work towards building a financially strong and self-sufficient party that can sustainably support its operations and adequately take care of the welfare of party members at all levels. The foundation for the party's financial stability has already been laid by the Treasury. As part of this commitment, I will champion the establishment of a pension scheme for polling station executive and implement enhanced welfare systems for constituency, regional, and national officers who dedicate their time and energy to serving our great party. When given the opportunity to serve as General Secretary, I commit to supporting the National Treasurer and the Finance Committee to strengthen the party's membership dues revenue generation, which stood at less than 100 Ghana cedis per month before I took over as National Treasurer, and which currently stands at over 30,000 Ghana cedis a day, and give it a further boost to reach higher targets. Furthermore, I envision the construction of a befitting national headquarters complex that will house the Patriotic Institute, national offices, a museum to preserve our political heritage, conference halls, and commercial spaces for rent to support internal revenue generation, and modern facilities to serve our future generations. I also firmly believe that party loyalty and dedication must be recognized, To this end, under my leadership as General Secretary, I will work with my colleagues to ensure that committed members and hardworking executive of the party are given meaningful opportunities to contribute to governance when the NPP returns to power in 2029. I remain deeply committed to working with our flag bearer, His Excellency Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and all stakeholders of the party to ensure that the new patriotic party returns to government and continues the process of transforming our nation. My leadership will be guided by the core values of integrity, empathy, accountability, discipline, and teamwork. Fellow patriots, the future of our great party depends on the choices we make today. Together, let us rebuild our structures, restore discipline, and strengthen the unity that has always been the foundation of our success. With humility and determination, I humbly seek your support and mandate to serve as the next General Secretary of the new Patriotic Party. Together, let us rebuild to restore NPP's love. Indeed, we are the new Patriotic Party, and the elephant is the winning symbol. Thank you, and may God bless the new Patriotic Party and our homeland Ghana. Kukudu, tetelestai, it is finished. Kukudu, party mpenimfo, party ma, midinchia kese sinema party manyina, wo odoni ahufama, abrenya ni yedanedi ema party eni nimpuntio. Ene, niji semenya akonya, se mitumi huasi hose eye akansi ayebekoi ewo party mu eye General Secretary Dibreno mejinebi. Manamontu ewo party mu eye anamontu a ejina eye dankwa buzi adombo tradition efapem ne so. From emra mebeye MPP China founding member Ayetoaba Eyime served 2 terms as branch chairman. Epim emra mebeye Asia Pacific Caucus chairperson ewo abrochimemu. Menya konya any party mabebre etu anamon. Dudona na wo diaspora omode ododi ahofama esum party no. Ebio me Ghana no minya konya esum party no as Director of Finance and Administration ewo NPP headquarters. Amine party ma.
That's the National Treasurer of the opposition NPP, Charles Dramina, there, declaring his intent to contest for the position of General Secretary in the NPP. Now, the minority caucus in Parliament has demanded the immediate arrest of individuals responsible for the unlawful closure of the National Health Insurance Authority's office at Ejuso in the Ashanti region. Ranking member on Parliament's Health Committee, Nana Ewuefrie, speaking at a news conference at the NHIA premises at Ejuso, condemned the action as a direct attack on public order and an unacceptable disruption of essential health care services. He insists individuals who led the closure of the office must be immediately brought to book.
This is for Bar by Muno. And yet, the back up and as I say, Ejuso office, and we did the Baha no more Modia Homa at 200 police for Gina Hassan. Adaya NDC tax force away Ejuso. Almost say Alex Nimako or your manager. Na your post to Nabaha son by your manager. Na almost per se your fat Ejuso ni and a your manager. Next, they say, Assemba Kono, and one a running truth. Manager and say, buy and Yankopo a genie film, and say, it's not original meeting. So, no so tea and one maha. Into Oma Locky Dino. And so I'm blocking the office. A woman, so by your Juma, on your Jumo, Oslo, you be a bit to me because some buy, you know, I'm on the office, Muneches, or no, Omokopeno, they could have harmed him. And don't you know, I'm sorry, but I have to use this strongly. This nonsense must stop. That's a penny to one as a year in and can as a one can once a man. You can't we for now. And the walk out. President John Mahama abane say yemfa mra inye dwuma.
National security has seized some undisclosed barrels of the chemicals used to prepare the toxic Sukudai cocktail as it intensifies efforts to clamp down on the sale and distribution of the product. The chemicals were seized at distribution points in Kumasi following the arrest of 4 persons in separate security operations involved in the sale and distribution of chemicals used to prepare what has now become known as a heart cleanser by patrons. My colleague Ohim Interior of our health desk has more in this report.
The suspects, made up of 3 females and a male who have since been granted bail, are assisting national security in their investigations. One of the women arrested by personnel of national security for selling toxic chemicals made overtures to influence the Ashanti Regional Deputy Security Coordinator to be soft on her during her arrest. The woman is at the center of the sales and distribution network of toxic chemicals used for the production of Sukudai, a toxic cocktail said to be linked to kidney diseases. She's seen in one-on-one discussion in Hausa, trying to influence the leader of the task force, as she also pleaded for a media blackout on the operations. The Ashanti Regional Deputy Security Coordinator confirmed in an interview with JoyNews that the woman was visibly confused and desperate, seeking a way to soften the task force's stance on her involvement. According to him, the woman's intention to offer something to stop the exercise was clear. To ensure there was no ambiguity in his refusal, the official responded to her in Hausa, swearing an oath to emphasize his commitment to the mission.
In a way, she was trying to talk to me to be soft on her and other stuff. So I have to swear in Hausa and told her that this chemical is killing our people. So I'm not here for money. I am here to make sure we get the chemicals out of the system so that our people can be free from these chemicals. So I told her blankly, I'm not here for money. So I said, Wallahi, that I swear the chemicals is killing our people.
Alhaji Inje Umar tells JoyNews his outfit will leave no stone unturned as it intensifies efforts to clamp down on Sukudai across the country.
We arrested 4 people, 1 male and then 3 other females. And then as I'm speaking with you, almost every day they've been granted bail. And almost every day they report to our office, and they are seriously assisting us in the investigations so that we can get the main cartel and then the supply chain of these chemicals, and then make sure we get them out of the system. We are still in our investigations, and we haven't finished. And this thing is not happening only in Kumasi. It's all over the country. So we have to, in a way, as I'm talking to you, almost every day they report to our office to continue or to assist us with our investigations, to know the actual supply chain of these chemicals and know how to get rid of the chemicals from the system. That is our main aim of fighting this cause.
Meanwhile, the Food and Drugs Authority is urging public support to deal with the sale of Sukudai. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Ohim Interior reporting.
From the Ashanti region, Ghana is on the front lines of the climate crisis. Across the northern regions, rising temperatures, prolonged droughts and erratic rainfall are forcing farmers to abandon their lands in search for survival. and many migrants move to cities like Accra and Kumasi, hoping to rebuild their lives, but their movement is creating new challenges for both the environment and society. Yet, as they move south, the story doesn't end in prosperity. Migrants often find themselves in the informal sector, scavenging, carrying loads, or working as scrap dealers to make ends meet. The following report has more.
Agbogloshi is a major site for illegal metal dumping and burning by scrap dealers, which is driven by vulnerable young migrants. These migrants, whose livelihoods have been affected by climate change, contribute to greenhouse gas emissions and further climate change. Farmers from northern Ghana are being forced to leave their homes due to reduced crop yield, food insecurity, and increased poverty. Many are migrating to urban areas like Accra in search of economic opportunities.
This year they are north there because north do from na so on to
from Jumanu and Shedan here mamisa Nansaya mo friend say from be brain aside this is unity I say Shedan process
me scrap from Yendi to here north because of work. That is why we are just here, and for our place there no work in that, for that we must come here and work due to the distance. Farming is not normal working as normal profession. These days if you just farm, the yield will be small. For that is why most of us are just here, because we will contribute much money on the farm, but getting to the distance, the time of harvesting, you won't get anything. For that, it's for service, just to lose, loss and lose.
Chief Executive Officer of the Ketua Company Limited and a member of the Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Charles Zimbabwe, explained that drought last year destroyed many maize farms. Similar issues occurred this year, with delayed rains in July, followed by excessive rainfall in August, negatively impacting crops. Mr. Nyaba is advocating for completion of Kwalugu multi-purpose dam to support farmers and reduce migration.
But today it's getting worse because even within the means, the rains doesn't come as is expected. So many places farmers are reluctant to actual farm in the north, except areas where we have irrigation facilities. So you have majority of the youth in the north who are in recent times are actually migrating down south. You do your farm, you do everything, you plant your crops. It costs you so much to do plowing, buy seeds. After the crop germinates, the rains can stop for a month or two. If we take last year, for instance, many farmers around northern region of East Savannah area, they planted the maize when they were about tasseling. We got a drought spell, which lasted for between 2 to 3 months. So we have majority of their farms actually dried off. This year, we also experienced similar development around the northern Savannah side, where in the month of July, the rains didn't come. Most of the crops dried up. It's just in August that we start experiencing good rains. And for the past 1 week, it has actually overrained. That is also impacting on the crop. But today, because of the climate change, the water is limited. What government just needed to do, which we will keep discussing, is to go and record that problem.
Climate change is causing significant harm as a state in action. Response: Minister for Food and Agriculture Eric Okoko announced the partnership with the Canadian High Commission to install 25 solar-powered boreholes in the northern, Savannah, and Upper West regions. These boreholes will provide clean water for irrigation and support year-round vegetable production. 10 boreholes are already operational, and the remaining installation are planned for December 2025 to February 2026.
Abani swadi hu sesi apa ne se Ghana agriculture na rainfed agriculture. Na ye se dane no na ye irrigation. Nti ye agree say benya irrigation be content on my kepe solar powered boreholes. Nti after ko bi twen na no Excellency Ambassador so o sheye mo say Obabuana High Commission Babuay, solar powered boreholes from Akumako, including in Air 25. The mood time there, the moment you could try the solar panel after Tosso, as you see a this solar power, a mano, and the Nantian Mamana, Ayukia, or which they have vegetables. 15 now can also. On my site, I studies in the area, the Huber in Acacia Bay installation. It in Yamea Adma, a free December way, they go see February next year there. Now, almost 25 Nina. When you know Bebois, I'm a phone to me. I am a Bebois, I'm a yet all year round production of the vegetables. Ebema income say we are phoning Yano, a costro. Now, make your Jumano, aye, and Niger.
Climate change is a pressing issue. The stories of climate migrants from northern Ghana highlight the human cost.
This story is brought to you by JoyNews in partnership with CDK in Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
Let's now take you to the site of an inferno where 2 personnel of the Ghana National Fire Service have sustained various degrees of injuries following a secondary explosion during a firefighting operation at Potsin Junction in the central region. The incident, we understand, occurred earlier today as emergency teams struggled to contain a volatile tanker fire on the Kaswa-Winneba Road. The second blast has heightened safety concerns, with the area remaining cordoned off to prevent further casualties. The initial emergency began at approximately 5:30 a.m., but the situation turned critical when the tanker, which appeared to be under control, suddenly reignited. Eyewitnesses described a harrowing scene as a spark from the vessel triggered a massive fireball within seconds.
Mr. Mama, what a trouble demo got or boom. My shoe fia, the main officer, she said, be better crowd as me. Quite nam Nazim. Wakata Nadmo for the Waboshe, Waboshama, the mayor to them in the me main chair, sir, at Cote d'Aban. All call if you can all Kuwiniba. May chair there, no, I've been too much. Or be there, road in the go on. The more than nature, a yard to walk. To you to one, or I did it. The man would have been Guma or Gufum. Send me the Gufuma at Mangasha by demo. If you say by demo, I'm more than bad demo, so I boom a jar to cry.
Memphis at 5:30 Mohonomo. And you who said Tankano, a packet, a water side, no better park no because of road no more yenity. When ya ne grand in ye, and a tanker need to know a Danny if we so because now need to know if you road in the case, net Danny na a slipping no quarter. I see a horn to a quarter hopper driver no then on the meeting will fika animuna. Almost I say so move Johnny. Into one monana, you who said tanker na boom, a boom pen a faja. Now, a jar here my or hanu yabu bob or homa or munyani no mudemu. Say, almost so, I'm sorry, no, Mujani Bianti, so be able because I'm more dina, she's in your name, no mupi, now, bano, nana, so a hanomo. Ah, or no, so no one kind.
You may be demon, so emergency. It is your reported back, and if you them agencies never by say one material, and I say one Yama Wodi Jumano. Access and now machines are the human access. And 1 year and he has a man pa they able to me put into shape. So be near able to me then Yasha on them.
Let's now take you live to the Communications Ministry, where the sector minister, Sam George, is addressing the press on the upcoming new SIM registration exercise and other matters.
As passed by Parliament, we are going to charge. Yes, this one we're going to charge. I think it's part of the distance that we will just discuss. But I think I want to, Minister, with your permission, I just want to make something clear. You know, I think 2 days ago when I launched the recruitment process to recruit temporary registration officers for the mass registration for 6 to 40. The funny thing is that we incorporated the facial verification. Now we got a call from someone. He was trying to register for someone. Now, when he did the biometric verification and confirmed, the next stage was that the system pulled all his record into the system. So he thought he could edit it so that you put the person's name there. But he got there, he couldn't do the editing. And that was what didn't happen during the previous SIM card registration. And just to also emphasize that there's an LI, the 211. An amendment is currently in Parliament, which has been laid, and it's going for 21 days. After that, it will be an offense to even do photocopy of your Ghana card or even do physical check of someone to grant that person's services. Because, you know, in establishing anybody's identity, basically there are three things that you do. That is identification, verification, and authentication. It is only when you do the authentication, that is when you establish that person's identity. What was done previously was only the identification and the verification. Thank you very much, Mr.
Minister, if I would just attach, I think I've just checked the LI on the disability thing if somebody gets deformed. So the new LI, actually, there's no waiver, but there are key exceptions. So exception where biometric verification is not feasible, the regulations allow limited flexibility where biometric verification cannot be done. It applies when there's a medical condition, physical limitation, or exceptional circumstances. And there are a number of options available, including a court order, or like a number of options that the LI provides to enable people who, for very special reasons, cannot be verified. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then there was a question from Nana Kwesi about those who fail to register. Nana, I don't envisage that everybody who has a SIM card today will try to register under this process. You know why? The number of fraudulently acquired SIM cards. And those persons will not be able to authenticate their Ghana cards and against their SIM cards. So I envisage that there will be people, and as media people, it's important you understand this, and we're streaming live. There are people who will go on social media to try and scream and say that, oh, we can't register. No. Just like what Yaira pointed out is happening at the NIA, where somebody tried to use his Ghana card and do facial recognition to register for somebody else, hoping to alter the fields when he gets in the next phase. And those fields they're immutable. It's the same thing that's going to happen. If you're using a SIM card today that is acquired fraudulently using somebody's Ghana card, don't forget that now when that person uses his Ghana card to do his own registration, he will set his primary number. So if you try to register that same, because maybe you have a copy or a photograph and you try to enter the details, when you try to do the liveliness test, the system will flag it and not allow that number to be registered. And so for those who are engaged in mobile money fraud, they are part of the people who will be on social media today saying that this registration must not happen. Because we will be able to block every SIM card that was not registered by the real owner of the Ghana card will not be able to go through this process. And that's why we're refusing to do a wholesale transfer of what has been already registered. Because if you do that, you transfer all the fraudulently acquired cards. If the card is yours, Nana, for your phone, now your registration. If we've brought comfort of this level and technology to serve you at this level, and you still say you don't want to register, then we must ask you why you don't want to register. What is it that you are running away from? So I'm not expecting everybody to register, but I believe that every law-abiding citizen who genuinely acquired their SIM card will take advantage of the process to register. And let me just state one thing in addition to what DG said relative to what the CEIR will do for us. If you register a SIM card for somebody, and this is because I'm saying this, I want to emphasize on this so that people don't fall victim. Someone will come to you and say, please register for me. Please do not register a SIM card for anybody who is not your dependent, say maybe your own child or a family member, if you use your SIM, your Ghana card to register a number, and that number is reported as having engaged in fraud, mobile money fraud, and it's investigated and it is found out, the device is going to be blocked, the number is going to be blocked, and the Ghana card is going to be flagged. We've decided to be flexible enough to allow that Ghana card do another registration of a new SIM. But if the same Ghana card is found to be involved in more than one fraudulent registration of a number used in mobile money fraud, that Ghana card will be blocked and barred from being able to register a SIM in the country. I hope you understand what the gravity of it. So if you use your Ghana card to go and register a SIM for somebody, and the person uses your card, that card that they got from your own Ghana card to perpetrate fraud, and we find 2 instances of that, your Ghana card is going to be blocked, which means that you can no longer get telecom services. So please, we are trying to clean up the system for our own selves. And you know the old man who said, "Oh, Sam George, I won't do it." It's because of them. Oh, this registration, it's because of our old folks. Oh, it's them that they call Sister Nie, Masendio. You know, it's important that we protect them. And so that's why we're doing this process. So I beg you, don't register a SIM for anybody. Everybody has a Ghana card. Let them go and register their own. You know, in the previous registration, it was understandable. A lot of people did not have the cards, so people were registering for them. Now everybody has a card. Don't register for anybody. Where do you make pauto? How do you say it in a way?
NCA blocks it. NIA can also, if it's established that the card was used to commit fraud, NIA too can block it in our system so that I cannot use it.
So you can't use it for any service at all in the country, from banking to whatever. You are blocked. So that's the value of what we are doing. Do we still have questions? We can take a last round.
Okay.
Hey, let's take a last round. Before, maybe I skip a media house and then...
Mr. Dona, you've had the opportunity. Can we give someone else? Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
Pacho Media Fia Mankwa Tamaklo, Adum TV. Pacho na me pesa me find out. Say, obi o businesses sir. Obi to me register with the same Ghana card with multiple businesses na.
Okay.
And na emese money there no so waka. Ebi ana ne ba by this time wonya nya bia. And so obi to me register with ono ankasa ni din wo ne enkra ni din mana. Thank you.
Can we take the next question?
So my name is Samuel Kojo Brace. That's how it is. Yeah, good. Namesake. I heard Yaira
Sammy,
say,
right?
Yes, please, yes.
Which media house again?
JoyNews, sir.
Joy, yes.
I heard Yaira say that this time around we are going to pay for it. Is that clarification? If that's it, I just want to know. Just not for me.
No.
So I, the consumer, will not pay.
You're not the consumer paying.
Because I was going to say that I did my corner. I have not.
No, the consumer is not paying.
Okay.
But when the verification is done, NIA will be paid because Parliament has passed the fees and charges. That's going to be. That's why I said that cost will be borne by the telcos.
Okay, good. Now, my friend asked about the cost. So I'm sure the question was about, you said the MNO should take part of the cost. I hear there will be an intermediary as well. What is the cost to the state, which of course my taxes will be used to pay? Are we incurring any cost like that? How much is it? And which intermediary has been selected to do this business? Thank you.
My name is Tua Danso, and I'm with EIB Network. Mr. Minister, can you confidently say that this new system will be the panacea to mobile money fraud? Thank you.
Let the owner ask his question.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, my other namesake actually asked one of the questions I wanted to ask. So thank you very much. The other thing is, just for purposes of clarification, so now, Mr. Minister, you are saying that everybody in Ghana now needs to do SIM registration. Is that what is going on?
Yes.
Because in your previous communication, you said that about 80% of Ghanaians will not have to go and do, because just about a few people will be called.
I'll clarify that.
Will be called and they will be told to go do ABC.
I'll clarify
so,
that.
So yes, so but now we are being told that everybody has to do it. Okay.
Mr. Okansi has a follow-up.
Actually, to the NIA, because of the question I asked earlier, I was referencing, this is the 2024 annual report, and this has, under the end-year project revenue performance table, we can probably show it to you afterwards, it has the line item telecommunication agencies, service type, identity verification services, transfer of data sets, and the planned revenue generation figure there is a little over $1 million. And the achieved target is $122,000 with a variance of a little over $882,000. So that's what I was referencing as to exactly what you're charging the telcos for if the previous SIM registration was not.
Okay, so let me start with Ifya Mankwa's question. If you say a businesser on using the Ghana card, the businesses won't use their Ghana card. We're using their registration at the Registrar General's department. So once you are a registered business, even if you have 5 registered businesses, we would use the registration documentation. And Mr. Beche, you can also provide.
If you are business registration, you know, you see who the Juma no one. Into a Juma run so you be here on a Ghana card. Now come you no boom. And you know. Back off for Juma does. Nina bet me register with Dimu. Na de here titru na adwumawura ne Ghana card sampa adwumai fiadia na register with Dimu. As to the number of SIMs, that I'm sure my Director General will answer that later. How many can you register to go? But that's a question he will pick up.
I think there will be a distinction there between individuals and businesses. There's a limit for individuals, and then there will be a different limit for businesses. So, and then when it comes to children, once it's your child under the age of 15 who doesn't have, because Ghana card now you do as low as 15 years, right? So if the child is 15 years and above, they have their own Ghana card. But if you decide to open Obama or buy 7 years phone, well, that's a parental decision you take. But you can register the SIM for your child in your name. Yes. Sammy, Joy, let's be clear. The intermediary is not going to be paid a peswa from the Ghanaian taxpayers. Either you as an individual or the NCA as an institution. So no taxpayers' money is going to go to the technical partner providing who will be selected. And let's be clear, I've seen a lot of things on social media that the minister has directed and given the contract to a company. Please, as we sit now, the request for procurement is at PPA. For those of you who follow the Atu forcing regime, to do any procurement, you must write to him. Get him to give you a commitment authorization. You take the commitment authorization to Public Procurement Authority. They will cross-check and verify before they give you the permission to proceed to do the procurement. It is only after you've done the procurement through an expression of interest and all the co-meaning of procurement that you get a service provider. We just got commitment authorization. We've now written to PPA. So for those who say that the minister has awarded a contract to a company, how did I award a contract to a company? So, I mean, there's a lot of fantastic information out there. Some of them are based on fact. Some of them are also very, very interesting mindsets, you know. But the facts are the facts. And you know, for those of you who follow me, I actually put my job on the line. and said that if anybody could show a contract, I challenged my brother Bright and said, if you could show 1 page of a contract, I will resign as minister. Since then, it's been months. Wada, well, okay. But I can assure you that the NCA will not pay a peswa to the technical provider. It's all going to be embedded in, that's why I told you that I couldn't give you the price, because the negotiations are going to be B2B. That's why that's why government is still in consultation with the network operators on what the final cost will be, so that we know whoever is coming in, this is what we've agreed. Can you do it at this rate? Can you do it at this price? Because this is what the networks who will bear the cost have agreed to pay. So nothing from government is going to go to a third party. Is this the panacea to Momo fraud? To a very large extent, I believe that it will make Momo fraud very expensive. Because today, even if you report and we are able to even deactivate the SIM, the cost to the fraudster is 10 Ghana cedis. That's the cost of a new SIM. But if we deactivate the SIM and also block the device that is connected to that SIM, and he will have to spend some 2,000 or 3,000 to buy a new phone. That in itself is raising the cost of committing the fraud. And if he does it a second time and his Ghana card is blocked, he actually loses access to literally every government service. Because today, literally almost every government service, you need your Ghana card for it. So the cost to mobile money fraudsters is being raised to a level that will make it prohibitive. I won't stand here and say that it will bring mobile money fraud to zero. Because you couldn't stop Satan in heaven. You couldn't stop Lucifer. But we are sure that we'll be able to go after the right people. Today, if you report a number and we can identify the transaction flow with the platform operator and realize that this is a fraudulent thing, there are steps that we can take to identify who that real person is. Because today, some of the numbers, when you try to trace, you end up going after some old man or old lady sitting in some village whose card was used to do a fraudulent registration. But now we would know who is really behind the thing. Must everyone register? Yes, I said 80%. So I was making reference to the sample we did. You saw the sample data gave us about 81%. It then means that the 81% that went through our audit, if today we start the registration, they are more than likely to not need to show up to any mobile money, any network shop to do their registration. Because their biometrics, the data that was picked off their card in the old registration matches what is on the NIS database. All that will be left for them to do is the self-liveliness test on their own, which will match and then they will go through. Those who would have to now show up are those who either don't have a smartphone and have to book an appointment to go, or those whose facial liveliness test establishes that the details that have been stored against your number or the details that you've entered do not match what Yaira Koku is holding at NIA. So then the question is, if someone who is carrying a ghost SIM today, and you know what we call the ghost SIMs, those that are registered fraudulently, if that person tries to register today, that person will have to show up at a shop to justify why, because the system will block it. The system will flag that number. So majority of those who have genuinely done their registration do not need to show up anywhere. They will do it on their own with their own self-service. So that's what that 80% was referencing. And I think Yaira has answered the question that Alfred, Yaira is now going to answer that bit on what they were charging me.
Yes, again, I must say that, yes, we didn't charge.
We've been listening to the Minister for Communications, Sam George, giving us an update on the upcoming SIM registration exercise there. Let's now come back into the studio because government has begun a nationwide registration of small-scale miners under the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program known as RCOMSDEP. In collaboration with the Minerals Commission, the exercise, which was piloted in the Western and Western North regions, aims to formalize artisanal mining groups into cooperative, strengthen regulation of the sector, and ensure environmental compliance. The process is expected to also help create a verified database of miners and improve transparency in Ghana's gold supply chain. To explain how the exercise will really work and what it means for small-scale miners across the country, I've been joined in the studio by the National Coordinator of RCOMSDEP, Mawisi Ama Mawenyafia. Thank you very much. I hope I got your name correct.
Excellent.
Tell us about this new policy.
Okay. Good afternoon again to you and to your viewers. So this is not necessarily a new policy. This was a policy that was launched last year in August 2025. Now, as part of government's fight against illegal mining, which has become an existential threat to all of us, we understand that at the heart of this is a conversation of livelihoods. People are looking for livelihood opportunities, they're looking for jobs. And so it is the reason why, of course, with gold price soaring today, it's a reason why anybody or anyone would want to be interested in the venture of mining. Now, what government is saying is that we are not against mining. Mining is an economically viable activity or venture, and anybody who wants to engage in that activity is allowed to engage in it, provided they are not causing environmental distress to all of us. So today we have our forest reserve, 16% of our forest reserve have been decimated. Our water bodies have been polluted. We have people even going onto roadsides and, digging everywhere just because you're looking for gold. Meanwhile, government is saying that in as much as we understand that you want to get into this activity, there's a framework or there's a way to do it, and to do it well, to do it responsibly and sustainably. And that's where COMSTEP comes in. So for us, the program that we are rolling out is more to formalize the sector especially within that artisanal and small-scale space. So what we're doing now, and the pilots that we started in the Western and Western North, we are going into the local communities, we are going into the mining areas, and for people who want to engage in the mining activity, we are creating a database of all of them. So we're basically registering everybody. Now, beyond the registration, in communities where people are looking for, want to engage in mining, we are saying that come together as a group, as a cooperative, and let government assign an area to you, formalize you, give you the right documentation, go through the process and all of that, and then provide you a framework with some training that allows you to be able to do the mining and do it well.
Right. So how will this exercise work on the ground, and what will be the requirements for miners if they want to be a part of it? So we have a team that is on the ground as we speak. Like we said, because we started a pilot in the Western and Western North, we have teams in those regions, and they are moving across all the constituencies, all the mining regions. Now, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to scale up. So we're going to be going nationwide, and as we go along, we would announce the regions in which we are going. All you have to do is just cooperate with the team. We will come to you. So we're working with the Minerals Commission. We're working with the Environmental Protection Authority. We will come to you, take your information, pick the coordinates. The Minerals Commission team is there with us. So as soon as we pick the coordinates, they're able to check from their system to see if the place belongs to somebody or not, if the place is a viable area that you can mine. Because you see, today with what these guys are doing, recovery rates are very low. They're doing about 20-30% recovery. What government is saying is that allow us to be able to put you within this framework, formalize you, give you a proper area to mine, and then also provide and also help you to basically mimic what you find in a formal mining site. So provide them with a modular processing plant, for instance. And then that way,
you are looking at a recovery of about 80%, nothing less than 80%, 90%. That should rather make sense for anybody who wants to get into this venture. But at the end of the day, it also allows us to be able to cut away from people destroying our forests, people destroying our water bodies, and things like that.
Right. So one of the main objectives of this particular project is to formalize artisanal mining to cooperatives.
Yes.
Why is formalizing it into a cooperative so central to this program?
So today, Ghana is blessed with abundant mineral wealth, and yet we have very little to show for. If you compare how much wealth we have here versus the infrastructural development, for instance, that we see all around us. What we are saying is, when we are able to put these people together in groups, more than half of the time, individuals are not able to afford what it takes to go through the formal process, which is why lots of the time they're doing what they're doing. But if you're able to put them together in a group, and you bring you pool all the resources together, sometimes you're able to even assign them an investor, for instance, who is able to bring in the processing facility, who's able to put a clinic on the side for them, things like that. Once you were able to do all of that, and you put them in that process, we are also able to take portions of the revenue that comes from that cooperative back into the community. So for instance, if the community is looking for a school, they want to construct roads, they want a hospital, we're able to take revenue from that cooperative, a portion of the revenue from that cooperative, to feed back into the community. So at the end of the day, there's a community benefit sharing program that everybody gets to benefit at the end of the day.
You're also introducing a 6-month temporary license to qualified cooperatives.
Yes.
What does it entail?
So the permit is basically to allow us a certain period for them to go through the formalization process. So once we have identified that this is a group, they have met all the conditions of that we have set, all the precedents that we have set. We give them that temporary operating permit. Within that period, they go through the training program that we have put together, and the training is both theoretical and practical. So they go through the training program, they are certified. Within that period, the Minerals Commission would also assign them the area. The minister will issue a lease for them and things like that. So what we are saying is, within that 6-month period, they're able to go through all the processes. And then by the end of the period, we're expecting that they are fully functional cooperative as per the structure or the framework that we have designed. And that also allows us to be able to, put some checks and control measures in there. Because, for instance, they're going to sign code of ethics. They're going to be having IDs for the individuals. So tomorrow, when NIMOS goes out there, and NIMOS is going out there to go and enforce the law, when they go into community A, and this community is certified, they have a temporary operating permit, NIMOS is not going to worry them, because they know that these people have been certified, they are undergoing the program that we have designed.
We're learning that this will allow the creation of a database for these artisanal miners and allow government to purchase gold from them directly.
Exactly.
But I want to find out, how will this help in the curbing of illegal mining and gold smuggling?
So when we say illegal mining, I talked about the recovery. There's also the bit of people digging everywhere because they don't even know where the gold is. Now, when we have this database, Minerals Commission has access to it. The EPA has access to the database. Ghana Geological Survey has access to the database. GGSA is able to say, based on the data that we have, or based on the work that we have done, this is the most viable area. Okay. Let's move these people to this area, right? They are working there. Now, because they are working within a framework that we have provided, again, I talked about portions of the revenue going back into the community. There's also a portion of the revenue that goes into reclamation. So, because they are working within a certain framework, they know that they are not going to cut down trees haphazardly and then leave it there. Then they know that when they dig this place, for instance, after that they are going to cover, the hole that they have sunk and all of that. So all the environmental degradation and all the things that we see around us today, all of those things are going to be put in check. And then, because we are working directly also with the gold board, every gold that comes from the cooperative has to be sold. It has to be sold through Gold Board, because this is also a government program. And so we curb smuggling with this program. We curb the environmental degradation with this program.
Right.
We provide proper avenues for miners with this program. We're also able to take them away from the health risk that they put themselves in because of the exposure to these chemicals. And the wrong handling of these chemicals that you're using, because the technology we're going to be using within this framework is mercury-free technology. And so they don't get to expose themselves to all these hazardous chemicals that they expose themselves to, for which today we are saying that there's high incidence of renal failures, there's high incidence of neurological diseases all along mining communities. So with this particular program, we're able to solve multiple problems that we are all facing today.
This is a pilot program that has begun in the western and western north regions. We also know that there are a number of other mining regions in the country. When should we expect it spread across the other regions?
I mentioned that earlier to say in the coming weeks we're going to scale up, because we wanted to start with 2 regions, pick the learnings, make the corrections, and then go, before we proceed. Now we've been able to do quite a number. We started on the 3rd of March, and so we've been able to cover quite a number of areas. And so in the coming weeks, we will start scaling up. The team will start to be deployed across all the other regions nationwide.
Right. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. You've been listening to Mausi Ama Mawenya Fia. She is the National Coordinator of the Responsible Cooperative Mining and Skills Development Program. You're still watching The Pulse here on JoyNews. We'll take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. You're welcome back to The Pulse. We have some developing news this afternoon. It's from the camp of the former national chairman of the New Patriotic Party, Freddie Blay. We understand that he's currently hospitalized following his recent arrest and failed bail application at the Koforidua High Court. The court had earlier denied an appeal for bail despite his legal team citing health concerns. And I've been joined in the studio with exclusive details on Mr. Freddie Blay's condition and what transpired after the court's ruling. My colleague Noella Karen Yale, she's been speaking to Freddie Blay's camp. Noella, what are we learning?
Right, so like you mentioned, I did speak to Chairman Freddie Blay's aide, Benjamin Ansah, who did confirm to me that he is currently hospitalized following a health scare, but is responding to treatment. And basically the health scare, it follows a day of some legal maneuverings at the Koforidua High Court, where his team had moved to appeal the 3 weeks detention order by the Ekropon Circuit Court. And in fact, his team presented to the court some comprehensive document, which was verified and signed by his physician, basically detailing his health challenges and his vulnerabilities. You know, that notwithstanding, the presiding judge ruled against it, and so maintained the remand order. And so on their way, in fact, they got to the police custody, or should I say the cells, and unfortunately his blood sugar levels spiked, and so he had to go to the hospital where he's currently, responding to treatment.
Does that mean that even yesterday he didn't spend the night at the police custody?
No, he didn't. I mean, they got there, but upon reaching there, his blood sugar level spiked, and so, yeah.
Right. And Noella Karen Yale there, thank you very much. And the premise of this story is that he was remanded into police custody just yesterday over allegations of unlawful damage to property. I spoke to his lead counsel yesterday, George Osiedu, who said that he will appeal the decision. He explained that Mr. Blay was surprised by the development because he had not been served with any summons informing him about the court proceedings. And the lawyer explained that the law allows a bench warrant to be issued only when a person has been properly served with a summons but fails to appear in court. And as you rightly heard from my colleague, Noella Karen Yale, Freddie Blay is currently hospitalized. We wish him a speedy recovery. In other stories this evening, former Roads and Highways Minister Francis Asensio-Boachi says Ghana's infrastructural development must go beyond political cycles, institutional boundaries and sectional interests. His comment comes at the heels of successive governments' failure to continue and complete infrastructural projects initiated by previous administrations, which has since left many works, including road projects, uncompleted across the country. The Bantama MP is advocating the development and adoption of a comprehensive national highway master plan that identifies strategic highway corridors and guides their development over time, regardless of the party in power. He spoke at the commissioning of the Asenso-Boakye Infrastructure Research Hub at KNUST.
The Asenso-Boakye Infrastructure Research Hub, housing offices and other ancillary facilities, is a platform for collaboration among academia, government, industry and society. The hub will research sustainable housing and urban planning, transport and mobility systems, water, sanitation and drainage management. It will also focus on energy systems and power infrastructure, digital connectivity and communication networks, disaster resilience and climate-sensitive infrastructure planning.
Although this center or hub bears my name.
Speaking at the commissioning of the facility, former Roads and Highways Minister Francis Asenso-Boakye bemoaned the state of abandoned projects dotted across the country. He emphasized the need for infrastructural development to be guided by long-term national planning and not subjected to political cycles.
Our roads do not belong to one political party. Electricity does not serve only one region. Digital networks do not distinguish between political affiliations. Public infrastructure belongs to the general citizenry, and hence the solutions we seek must be collective. Infrastructure development must therefore transcend political cycles, institutional boundaries, and sectional interests. Infrastructure development must be guided by long-term national planning rather than short-term political cycles. Across our country, we have seen situations where major projects, including highways and bridges, begin under one administration but stall or abandon under one, often not because they are not needed, but because priorities shift with political transitions.
While the country grapples with uncompleted and poor road networks, the Bantama MP believes a national highways master plan needs to be developed.
I have long advocated for and still do want to use this platform to once again call for the development and adoption of a national highway master plan, a comprehensive long-term framework that identifies Ghana's strategic highway corridors and guides this development over time, regardless of which government is in office. Such a master plan, Mr. Chairman, would enable successive governments to build on each other's work rather than restart the national conversation every 4 or 8 years.
Head of the Planning Department at the KNUST, Professor Charles Pepa, highlighted the new facility's essence to bridging research and policy gaps.
Infrastructure remains central to national development. Roads, housing, water systems, sanitation, energy, and transport networks shape economic productivity, urban resilience, and the quality of life of our citizens. While Ghana has made important investments in these sectors over the years, the gap between research knowledge, financing decisions, and implementation practice continues to limit the full impact of infrastructure development. The Asenso-Boakye Infrastructure Research Hub has therefore been established as a deliberate effort to bridge this gap.
For JoyNews, my name is Emmanuel Bratkwiku.
And the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has raised concerns over the rising unemployment rate among university graduates, observing that only 10% of graduates from universities are able to secure jobs. As a step to build entrepreneurial capacities, a junior chamber initiative has been introduced to roping tertiary education students into commerce and industry. The initiative took off with the signing of an MOU between the GNCCI and the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. The following report has more.
The Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry launched the Junior Chamber Initiative at the KNUST School of Business as a step to enroll student entrepreneurs into the business community while in school. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the GNCCI, Mark Bedu Abuaji, the introduction of the Junior Chamber is aimed at addressing the widening unemployment gap.
Just last month, or about 2 weeks ago, our office is very close to the University of Ghana, and they were having graduation ceremonies. Every day, they were having about 2 or 3 sessions of students graduating. The data has it that in a year, about 120,000 students graduate. Within a year after service, only less than 10% of the students will get a job. The over 90% is there, and we are adding 90% every year. And it's serious. You have been students before. We thought that we will finish, the transition will be smooth, we will get a job, and they will continue from there. But the evidence out there is totally different. Some have been at home for more than 5 to 10 years, looking for a job because they have not been prepared enough to think about creating their own jobs and also employing their own colleagues. So the chamber decided to fill up that gap, that transition of providing practical business skills, mentorship, network, and access to capital to those who decide to start their own business, even whilst they are still on campus or when they graduate.
Speaking at the event, Pro-Vice Chancellor of KNUST, Professor David Asamoah, described the initiative as a major step toward strengthening collaboration between academia and industry.
The launch of the GNCCI Junior Chamber Initiative at KNUST represents a significant step in strengthening the relationship between academia and industry. Universities today are not only centers for teaching and research, but also catalysts for innovation, entrepreneurship, and national development. This initiative provides an excellent platform for our students to engage directly with the business community.
The Municipal Chief Executive for Asokori Mampong, Ben Abdel Al-Hassan, emphasized the importance of encouraging students to venture into business as unemployment continues to grow.
We know the hard truths we face. Our nation cannot afford to waste the potential of its youth. Recent data from the Ghana Statistical Service paints a clear picture. Unemployment averaged 12.8% across the first 3 quarters of 2025. Rising to 13.0% in the third quarter. Youth unemployment remains far more severe, around 32.5% for those aged 15 to 24, with even higher rates in urban centers like Greater Accra and parts of the Ashanti region.
President of the GNCCI underscored the importance of expanding the Junior Chamber Initiative to universities across Ghana. For JoyNews, Nana Boachidankwe Yadom, Kumasi.
The Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni says available figures show growing confidence among lawyers and litigants in the use of alternative dispute resolution ADR, citing its effectiveness and lower litigation costs. Speaking at the launch of ADR Week in Sunyani, Paul Bafuboni said the results underscore the need for greater commitment and cooperation among justice system stakeholders to sustain the program's success. Precious Semevo reports.
The Alternative Dispute Resolution ADR Week by the Judicial Service of Ghana brings together courts, mediators, members of the bar, and the public to deepen awareness and encourage the use of ADR for faster and more efficient dispute resolution. This year's ADR Week in Sunyani themed adoption of innovation and technology to enhance access to justice delivery through ADR will also feature mass mediation of cases in 138 ADR-connected courts nationwide. Angelina Mensah-Homia is a Court of Appeal judge and judge in charge of ADR.
I would say that the future of justice delivery in Ghana goes beyond the physical buildings. We must strive to provide a service that is more accessible, inclusive, and efficient. The introduction of technology into ADR is certainly the way to reach out to our brothers and sisters in what I call the justice desert, where there are no courts. Once they are able to walk to the nearest court to file their suits, they will be able to sit in the comforts of their homes and use digital tools to have their cases resolved through mediation.
The Chief Justice, Paul Bafuboni, highlighted the growing impact of ADR in resolving disputes through improved technology and trained mediators, with 2,195 out of 7,324 cases settled through ADR in 2025. He urged stakeholders in the justice system to strengthen cooperation to sustain its success.
These figures demonstrate the growing confidence that litigants, lawyers, and judicial officers have in the ADR system. Every case resolved through mediation represents more than just a statistical achievement. It signifies reduced pressure on the courts, lower litigation costs for parties, and most importantly, the preservation of social relationships that might otherwise be damaged by prolonged legal disputes. However, the continued success of ADR depends on the commitment and cooperation of all stakeholders within the justice system.
Supervising High Court Judge for the Bono and Ahafo regions, Joyce Boahin, also appealed for improved infrastructure to support the work of judicial service staff.
You can see from our structure here, we need massive painting and renovation of our present court premises. We have extra land on our court premises, but we have courtrooms that are limited in space and offices that are very small. We therefore pray the authorities concerned if they may consider building spacious courts and offices on the land available on our court premises.
Precious Semevo, JoyNews, Sunyai.
The General Officer commanding the Northern Command, Brigadier General Franklin Wolanyo, has tasked officers and men of the 10 Mechanized Battalion in the Upper West region to demonstrate professionalism in all aspects of their duties. While acknowledging the difficult challenges they face, he urged them to give their best in combating criminal activities and safeguarding the country's borders.
Lieutenant Colonel James Bampa Palma Ado took over the position of commanding officer of the 10 Mechanized Battalion, popularly known as the Hippos, from Lieutenant Colonel Godfred Asampong in late January, after the latter returned from peacekeeping duties outside the country and was reassigned. His induction as the #1 Hippo at the 10 Mechanized Agri Barracks in Wa was attended by high-ranking officers from the Ghana Armed Forces, including the General Officer, Commanding Northern Command, Brigadier General Franklin Wolanyo Agbebo, Director, Electrical and Mechanical Engineers, Colonel Bizek Babulu, and members of the Upper West Regional Security Council, led by its chairman and Upper West Regional Minister, Lowe Charles Wonga Pozum. General Officer Commanding Northern Command, Brigadier Franklin Wolanyo Agbebo, was commending men and officers of the 10 Mechanized Battalion for their courage, commitment, and sacrifices made in the midst of challenges. He urged them to be professional in the conduct of their duties. He emphasized that the High Command is aware of the challenges they are facing and have already hatched out plans to deal with them.
I must announce to you that the major problem that you have laid before him, the completion of water sachet factory, he has divided the funds to the 10 Mechanized Battalion to complete it. Amen. Again, you talk about your kitchen. You have to manage the funds for the kitchen to also be done. All because you appreciate and the High Command appreciate all the little effort that you are putting in to make Ghana safe.
Brigadier General Franklin Wolanyo asserted that as military men and officers, their work entails that they should always be alert as their services could be needed in a split of a second, which they cannot fail.
Our profession, as I said, is full of up and downs. We'll be at peacetime, nothing's happening. All of a sudden, the next moment you are moving. Fortunately, unfortunately, those of us not in command, and especially 10 and 11 mechanics battalion, our situation is different. We must be alert at every point of time, because by the word of seal, by one phone call, a whole platoon, a whole company is moving. All that I ask of you is you continue to remain professionals, be loyal to command, take instructions as you are directed. We are here with various trades. Are you invested into the profession? Me and you, our investment is to make sure that we make sure the region is safe. Once the region is safe, Ghana is safe. Our task is to make sure that our little bit of the border, that we command, that we control, should continue to be safe.
Lieutenant Colonel James Bambo Palma was commissioned into the Ghana Armed Forces in September 2006 as part of a regular career course 46. In a speech delivered after his induction, Lieutenant Colonel James Bambo Palma noted that the successful transition between him and his predecessor has boosted morale and is of the firm conviction that they will succeed in any mission they will want to undertake. He laid bare his core values.
My core values include the welfare of troops, respect for defense civilian staff, mutual respect among ourselves, professionalism, initiative, discipline, effective communication, commitment to force protection, and respect to local communities. I am confident that adhering to these values will ensure the diligent and professional execution of all assigned tasks.
Power Minister Lawyer Charles Wongo Pozung pledged the continued support and cooperation of the Regional Coordinating Council and all security stakeholders in the region to ensure that he succeeds.
Our collective goal remains the same: to safeguard the peace and security that our people need to pursue their livelihoods and development.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
An NGO known as International Justice Mission, working with the Ghana Police Service, the Department of Social Welfare, and the Office of the Attorney General, has rescued over 500 victims of human trafficking and facilitated the arrest of over 200 suspects. The following report has more.
Child trafficking is frequently reported in the Volta region, particularly in fishing communities around Lake Volta. According to IJM, about 38% of children in some lakeside communities are suspected to be victims. Adults are also trafficked after being lured with promises of better jobs. To tackle the problem, IGM has partnered with state institutions to strengthen enforcement and victim protection. At the Public Justice System Leaders Summit, the Director of West Africa Programs at IGM, Anita Budu, highlighted the organization's impact, noting the rescue of 569 victims and the arrest of 235 suspects linked to the trafficking activities.
IGM's work since 2015 with our government partners has been able to see these results on the ground. We've seen over 569 victims rescued, over 200 suspects arrested, over 70 convictions, and around 1,500 public justice actors trained. And so all this, again, gives us the foundation as we work towards strengthening our justice system and ensuring that there are more and more people protected.
Also speaking at the summit, Senior State Attorney at the Office of the Attorney General, Andrews Eduku, called for a review of Ghana's Human Trafficking Act.
The Human Trafficking Act itself will need to have some revisions. The reason why we are saying that we need to have some revisions is that we have worked with the law for about 20 years, and obviously there are still some challenges where we do not have enough resources to do even the prosecution and making sure we have enough shelter available, because as it stands right now we don't have a lot of shelter. At least every region must have 1 or 2 shelter to be able to deal with issues of trafficking. I also think that we need to have a very concerted effort which addresses various situations, looking at the education of people in the health sector, looking at those who even stay at various transport unions and things like that.
Security officials at the summit warned that human trafficking can affect anyone, stressing that no one, regardless of age, gender, or profession, is immune from becoming a victim. Mavis Kabuko's report read to you.
That's it for the Pulse this evening. For more news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com. There you have it. Our top story this hour says, first batch of Ghana Armed Forces recruits to begin training. My name is Kenneth Jesse. The news team returns at 7 p.m. with News Prime. Have a good evening.